Oh,
Got it?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
It is 10:54 and we are resuming our Board of Director business meeting. Our next and final action item is appointment of the 5th director, who will take the open officer appointment to treasurer. First of all, I'd like to address those members that thought that we were limiting our property owners to someone with financial background. We were not. If you read the dispatch, that was actually posted 3 times to remind our property owners of the open position. It states in there that it would be nice if someone had some financial background because of the open treasurer's position, but it was not required that any property owner may run for the board or be appointed to the board. They have to be a property owner by our bylaws. The state, under Chapter 209, says that no other restrictions may be placed on a property owner who wants to either run for the board or be appointed to the board. And that the only existing restriction is after they are appointed to the board, if it is determined that they have been convicted of a felony or moral turpitude, which is just another kind of felony, then they would be immediately removed from the board.
And a lot owner.
Yeah.
A lot owner and over 18.
You have to be a property owner here. And it doesn't matter what size property you own, whether it's a non-performance lot. If you own a piece of dirt, you are a property owner. If you do not, then you may not vote or be on the board. So we wanted to make that clear. And of the 3 people, after 3 postings of the dispatch asking for volunteers to submit their resumes, only 3 people were willing. I suspect that we didn't get more, partly because of the responsibility attached to the coronavirus and the HOA responsibilities. Who knows? At any rate, I wanted to make it perfectly clear that any property owner could have submitted a resume to be on the board of directors. And by the way, just to let everybody know, you do not have to be current with your assessments. Okay? We had 3 candidates. We had Bill Herman, who is in Unit 21 and was previously on the board of directors, and he went off in last year. He went off last year. We have Linda O'Brien, who ran for the board previously. She was collected the 3rd most votes. And the only reason I mention that is because members mention that to me all the time. She submitted hers. And the 3rd, which came in last, by the way, was Jody Stevens. Jody Stevens was our Director of Operations in 2012 through 2014. And now she has moved back to FCSA and wishes to be on the Board of Directors. I think it's appropriate probably that we, and if you disagree, please let me know, we can take turns and read the resumes that were submitted, because they're short.
So did we tell them?
I will.
Okay.
Okay. Someone want to take a resume and read it?
Sure. And also, just for clarity, resumes are not necessary to put in to be nominated. Just your interest is fine. We can verify that you're an owner. We do not dissuade resumes, or at least vision statements. They are helpful, but not necessary again.
It's true.
This one is for Mr. Bill Herman. Dear Board of Directors, please allow me to briefly introduce myself and my goals for the future of our community. I hope this letter will help answer questions you may have for me and perhaps any candidate you would have represent you on the board. How will I continue to focus my efforts to serve my fellow members and the fort? These are bullet points. 1. More for our membership, improvement of recreation and activities. 2. Efficiency and operating costs. 3. Administrative accountability and responsiveness. 4. Fairness and equity among members. 5. Cleanup of Fort Clark grounds, attention to poorly kept properties. 6. A clear picture of our financial standing. 7. Concise results-driven board meetings. And 8. Restore Fort Clark to profitability. What experience do I have specific to this position? 1. FCSA Architectural Committee Board Member. 2. KC Food Bank and Commodities Distribution. 3. I'm familiar with the rules and regulations. 4. Past board member, Fort Clark Mud. 5. Past Fort Clark Recycling Volunteer. 6. Kinney County Historical Commission. 7. Past FCS board member. And 8. Past Preservation board member. A little about me. I've been a member of Fort Clark Springs since 1980. I retired from Rio Grande Electric as an area supervisor in 2003. I have hundreds of volunteer hours with various projects on the fort, and I rarely miss a board meeting. I'm a member of the Architectural Committee, which convenes weekly. I recognize opportunities to beautify our grounds, increase equity among members, and attract more members. I firmly believe that by addressing the needs of current members, being aware of activity around us, such as the pipelines, clean energy projects, and railroad in Spofford, and assessing the assets at our fingertips, we can capitalize on opportunities to generate more revenue.
Okay, somebody want to read the next one?
I'll read it. This is from Linda K. O'Brien. Request for appointment to the 5th seat of the Fort Clark Board of Directors. Dear Madam President, I would respectfully like to request my name be added to the pool of individuals seeking appointment to the BOD. My history with the fort and my previous work experience in a prestigious law firm in Burlington, Vermont would allow me to assist the BOD in its daily challenges. Preparation of court accountings, preparation of federal estate tax returns, working with people from all walks of life, and strong work ethic would allow me to be very helpful. Participation in the following fort activities. 2009, successfully prepared, filed the application, and followed through with the IRS for a 501c3 for Fort Clark Springs Community Council. 2009 to 2010, chairman of Fort Clark Days. Each year's profits were made in excess of $14,000. 2011 to 2012, ran collections for the fort, collecting $200,000 in back HOA fees. Foreclosed on 27 homes, helped 20-plus families save their homes. I do have a passion for the fort, and I want to see Fort Clark move forward for the next generations. Thank you for your consideration, Linda K. O'Brien.
Okay, well, this one was addressed to me, so I'll read it. It's from Jody Stevens. Good afternoon, Sandy. I would like for the FCSA board to consider me for your open position on the board. In the 2.5 years as the Director of Operations, I was able to bring the fort to profitability by reducing expenses, updating marketing, and creating efficiencies. I believe that I can again contribute to bringing the fort back to profitability if given the opportunity.
She also gave her portfolio of her budget when she worked here, if anybody wants to review it.
Okay, just to comment on the budget, the board does not prepare the budget. The general manager and his department heads prepare the budget. I will say that that was followed during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll be, for the sake of transparency, we have been working on this for at least 3 weeks now. Even before we opened up the list. So the list was resumes or applications or letters of interest, whatever you want to call them, had to be in by 5 o'clock on April 1st. So we reviewed the 3 people who did apply, and we have been angsting over this since that time. We have tried to reach a decision so that we could actually appoint and swear in a director today. However, we were a tied board, 2-2, and we're unable to make a decision. So we thought about it over the weekend. Some of us have heard from members. We've, as Dustin said, been contacted by more members in the last few days than ever before. And so what I'm going to do is allow, before we put this up for a vote, is I want to give each director a chance to talk about, to approach this from any angle that they wish. Okay, we're trying to be totally transparent. We want to let you know what we've heard from the members in general, and who we think, and then we'll, who we think would make the best director within the framework of directors' responsibilities. And we'll go from there. We'll start with our vice president. Dustin, you're on the,
All right.
you're on the hook.
I'm on the box.
You betcha.
I'm gonna start by saying that I'm going to be blunt, and I am not here to hurt anyone's feelings. I'm here to do a job for the membership as a board member, and our job is to appoint a 5th board member. I've received a lot of feedback from members, for and against all the candidates. I will say, regarding Mr. Herman, the feedback is not negative. There seems to be a consensus among the members that have contacted me that he was just kind of a wallflower. I have talked to others who served on boards with him and worked with him who said that is not the case. He just didn't say anything unless he had something he felt he needed worth saying. Consensus is that he did good work. I am not opposed to working with Mr. Herman. My pick personally was Ms. Stevens. I will say that I had several interactions with her when she was the Director of Operations, I believe was the title at that time, that turned me off. She was abrasive and it seemed at times dismissive. She spent a great deal of money on marketing. She bought a new pickup and wrapped it in vinyl and bought a trailer to tow all over the world and paid people to go to conventions and RV things and whatnot, and I did not agree with that all the time. But she did an admirable job as a DO. She ran a clean house, she knew where the money was, and that's very valuable, and it's something that has been a rarity on Fort Clark Springs since my family and I moved here in 2006. I think her experience in the office would lend itself well to her as a board member. I know I have gotten quite a bit of feedback for and against her. Against mainly goes to, one is a fear that she would be acting as a proxy for her mother, who was part of the board that was ousted in February. My response to that would be that there are an additional 4 board members besides her that can temper that. I don't think she will have as much. I don't think that will be the problem that many members seem to think it would. The other complaint against her from the membership is her abrasive personality, and I will say that her personality is not always abrasive, and the DO job and the XO job and the GM job, it's all the same job, and it can be a tough one. I mean, your job is to be the go-between between the membership and the board of directors and the outside contractors and everybody else that's doing business around here. And there's only so many hours in a day. You can only explain to somebody why you can't do something so many times before you have to be impolite and effectively dismissive. As a board member, that shouldn't be as big an issue because we don't have nearly as much direct interaction with the memberships as the GM will. I really think that the additional board members here can temper a lot of that. I think she'd be a good fit, personally. Ms. O'Brien, I know there's a lot of support for Ms. O'Brien. I don't have a problem with Ms. O'Brien and never have. She has a big personality. My concern with appointing Ms. O'Brien is pretty solely her performance during the special meeting in February. The petition was the membership expressing their displeasure with the last board. I have no problem with that. That's the way things work in these kind of governments. But once you get it done, she was not content to sit there and let it happen. She kept on yelling and rabble-rousing, even after she figured out that the board members that were voted off were not going to be voted back on. She continued, and she made several statements, one of which was that our bylaws and governing documents trump state law, and that is absolutely contrary to the facts. Every single document governing this association is subordinate to the state property code, all of them. That shows one of two traits. That shows either a concerning lack of knowledge on the subject matter at hand, or a shocking lack of judgment. Either of those traits I am not comfortable installing as a board of directors, onto the board of directors. Like I said, this is not personal. This is just me being blunt in my assessment of the candidates and trying to do the best job that I feel I can do for the membership. The big argument that I hear from the members in favor of Ms. O'Brien is the last election. She lost it. She was the third highest vote getter, which was just out of a chair. The way democracy works is not, we don't elect, say, a president, and then if for some reason they can't serve anymore, we don't go back to the loser of that election and install that person. There are processes there, just like there are here in these documents, are governing documents for filling a vacancy, and installing people that lost the last election is not the process. If it was, it would be spelled out in the governing documents. Just install the person who got the most votes in the last election. That's my input.
Robert?
Like Dustin said, we have been inundated with phone calls, emails, and people catching you going into restaurants or when you approach your home over the past 2-3 weeks, which is fine because we are board members and we should be accessible to the membership. I will be honest, 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was absolutely against Linda O'Brien being on the board. I thought that we would have many more people sign up to choose from. And like Dustin, I was not happy with my first meeting of Miss O'Brien at the special election or the special meeting of February 1st. However, as an outsider, not knowing really one side of the argument or the other over the past 2 months, I have had the unique perspective of seeing it without knowing everything and allowing me to form my own opinion. So like Dustin said, I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but I'm going to be blunt and honest with what I see. On the fort, I see 2 different groups. And those 2 different groups culminated their anxieties toward each other at the February 1st meeting. After going through and reading emails in the secretary's mailbox, after looking at those emails and seeing a plan of action, which was to place the former board president as the general manager after that board that was removed, replaced one at a time the members to the new board, I cannot say that Linda O'Brien and the rest of the petition committee and the membership did not do the right course of action. I'm not a fan of nonviolent civil disobedience. I truly am not. I think there are other avenues to explore first. But had the membership not come out with pitchforks and hose like they did, I think that the orchestrated plan would have been carried out. The previous board president would be our GM, and the entire efforts of the membership to gain back control of their association would have been thwarted. So, looking at it through those lenses and seeing the 3 people that I have to choose from, I am reversing my 5-week-old opinion on appointing Ms. O'Brien to the board. When I look at the director oath of office, the declarations that I will uphold and support, the declarations of protective restrictions, the bylaws and regulations, the governing administration of the Fort Clark Springs, and further, I swear that I will represent the interest of the membership to the best of my ability. In representative democracy, which I hope that's what we're involved in here, it is my job as the representative of the members to be open and to listen to what they say. And in the absence of direct representation, where we all get to sit and make this decision, all 800 and something members together, property owners, I have to listen and make my determination based on the majority of the members who spoke to me. Despite my personal feelings that my job over the next 2 years serving on a board with Miss O'Brien, who has a much more assertive personality than I do, is going to make my life miserable, I think. I hope not. But I must do what the membership expects of me, which is to represent their views, despite my own personal views. So, that being said, I have had people that told me that Ms. Stevens overly spent. I have had people that told me she was abrasive. I don't know her. Like Dustin said, the same comments coming from members about Mr. Herman, I don't know him. My limited exposure to Miss O'Brien was the February 1st meeting, and then a conversation later with her where I felt like I was being attacked. But once again, my personal feelings have to be put aside for those of the membership. So that is why I voted to put Miss O'Brien on the board. And I think that's all I have to say.
Your turn, Rihanna.
Okay. All right. So, on the side note of Linda O'Brien, I don't know her personally. My reference was about 2 months ago. How we got in this position is from that special meeting. Since we do take an oath on our governing documents and everything, I do have issue with having someone as our teammate thinking that the bylaws trump Texas law. I also have a hard time when she was conducting she was portraying that as a membership meeting, and it was addressed as 2 special meetings. And she was very adamant, and the crowd got very excited, and she convinced a lot of people that it was a membership meeting. So with that, I can't vote for her. I mean, we have other issues to kind of get to, and this is already taking so much time on trying to appoint another member, but we're only here less than a year, and I kind of would like to make some really good decisions on behalf of the association. So my convictions, I can't. After if you guys kind of watch it, I can't. It's not anything personal. However, that can't be my vote. If she is voted on here, Linda, I will gladly work with you, but my personal vote is I can't vote for you at this time. I do encourage you in September when we start that you please put your name back on the ballot and let the membership, because I really do believe the memberships are the ones who, I don't even feel like I should be here. I think that, we should have been elected by you guys, because even if I just hang out with my street, there's 850 votes. There's no way, and there's a lot of silent majority that's why we do have our process, because your vote should be private in this. And so I don't justify just honoring the loudest members, to be honest. I do care about the silent ones also. Bill Herman, I love Bill Herman. I have worked with him. I was an employee for 6 years. However, at this time, I cannot vote for him because of the way that I exit the association. He was part of a board that I was strongly against of how they handled the declarations. So if I couldn't as an employee, I don't want to stack the deck up, and I don't want to be making an environment where I would have to step down on behalf of the associations because of my ethics. So that leaves Jody. I do have to clarify, because if we're kind of going by the rumor, the vehicle with the wrap truck, that was already in our fleet. That was Joe's truck, which happened to have the least amount of dents, and she just paid for the wrapping, it was not a new vehicle. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there that she did have a budget, so she did stay within her advertising. So that we have to be careful. If we don't hear it from the horse's mouth and we just keep going off, then that is gossip. And so make sure we do back it up with facts. We did not have Rick when we first asked for a director, and we lost Jim because he felt the weight of the pressure of the financials on him. We didn't know we were going to have a Rick, and we still don't really know if he would like some guidance. I don't know. Me, I was member service. I'm here, and Gabby has, if she needs, or if Rick or anybody needs some of my expertise, I'm available. I am not up here, but I am available. And so my thing is, our finances are what's kind of in the biggest pickle. So if we have someone, and I did check with our auditors, and he did give me an analysis from 2012 all the way up to 2015, and when she was the director, we were way more in the black than what we have seen from other directors have given us from what their budgets and stuff are. So she can be an asset. I have to agree with Dustin. She's not running the association. So, and if her talents aren't needed, Rick will be the ones who can request it or deny it, but we're just here. Rick will be our only employee. We're trying to make this place better. And we do happen to have some assets on the board. Insurance, communications. I mean, if we don't have Robert, none of us are great with Facebook. So I do super appreciate that, because I choose not to do that because I really don't want to know people don't like me. But with that, I'm just saying, we only have 3, and for the people, I am disappointed in the membership. I wish that there were more names to choose from, to be honest, but there's not. And so I really kind of want to put this aside. I hope we can come to some kind of conclusion, and we can kind of be able to vote in a way and not be locked again, because I really been having some anxiety, because I don't like the feeling amongst us, and I think there's bigger fish to fry than this. So with that, my vote is for Jody. Are we supposed to do that? Or
Everybody else has.
okay.
They said, say what you wish.
It's an action item.
Okay.
We're handling this a little bit differently than a standard action item because of the nature of the appointment and, like I said, all the angst we've been sharing over getting it done for the membership. I guess I stand in a unique position here. I know all three of them. I worked with Bill Herman. I spent 2, 3, 4 years on the board with him. I have great respect for him. I did not see what other members saw. However, I did see him as a hard worker, following up on everything, well-versed in all of our governing documents and the state law. I saw him ready to help anytime it was needed, checking in every single day to see if there's anything that had to be signed or matters to handle, checking with the DO or the EO to make sure that there were no questions. But Dustin hit the nail on the head when he said he was quiet and he only said something when he actually had something to say. Can't be said that about me. I always have something to say. So I do have a great deal of respect for him. I think that he was poorly misunderstood by people that did not actually work with him. Next, Jody Stevens. Jody, I have, by the way, nothing personal against any of these people because I know them. Jody Stevens was the person that wanted me to submit my name to replace a director that was dying of cancer. And I was appointed for my first term on the board. And I had the privilege of working with Jody for the 2.5 years that she was director of operations. And I have great respect for her as well. She's intelligent. She did a good job in her position. She was kind of a my way or the highway sort of person and did have a tendency to be somewhat abrasive at times. We went toe-to-toe a few times. I know her personally. We play golf together. My concern with Jody is one that was expressed to me by several members. And again, I've had a number of comments, contacts, comments, people telling me, you must do this. But the biggest concern of our members is the close relationship she has with Debbie Isaacs, who was removed along with the other 3 members of the board on February 1st. And I was reminded by these members that in the past, Debbie was president of the board and had to resign because Jody was hired for director of operations. And in the past, Debbie has had great influence over Jody. And the members' concern here is that Jody's desires to be on the board may be as a result that Debbie was removed from the board and she wants to basically step into that position that Debbie held. And I trust in Jody that she would be able to tell Mom, you know, no way, this is not your board, but members are concerned. And as Robert said, my job here is to listen to the membership. We're here because of the membership. They are the ones that pay the assessments. We do too, we're all members. But I have to listen to what they tell me. Okay, number 3, Linda O'Brien. In openness, I was on the petition committee with Linda O'Brien. There were 4 of us. And we were requested by many members to form this petition committee. It was not just our idea. We had a gang of members, as a matter of fact, 278 of them that signed the petition. So I worked with Linda. That's the only time I'd really come in contact with her. She was a hard worker. I too was unhappy with her performance at the meeting, even after basically, we got everything we wanted, including one of the committee members, one of the petition committee members on the board, and a previous employee, Brianna, that she behaved like that. However, I also know her as a hard worker who has been involved in many, many projects, community council, stables, you name it. We have both Linda and Jody have at times very volatile personalities. I would be able to work with any of these people here, all three at some point. Based on, and I've had a number of members come to me and say that, I know that this is contrary to Dustin's thoughts, but that she had over 300 signatures on a petition to put her on the board before Mr. Kirby was appointed. And the board totally didn't even really discuss the petition, they just basically ignored it. So I've had members pounding me now for a long time that she was the member's choice and that we should think about that. Okay, that's as blunt as I can be right now. Being that, I've had a very, very difficult decision to make as to who to pick here because, frankly, I think all three individuals are equally qualified to be on this board. However, I am going to respect our members' fears about the close relationship between Jody Stevens and her mother, who was removed from the board. And by the way, all four members that were removed from the board were removed by more than 60% of the votes of the membership, which is considerable. So my vote would be for Linda O'Brien at this point. And barring Linda O'Brien, then my vote would be for Bill Herman. So we are still at a standstill.
Can I make you did address that you were one of the four who orchestrated the petition whenever they sent out the vote. Does that make a conflict of interest for you to be able to make this vote?
No, I don't think it's any more of a conflict of interest than the fact that you work with Debbie.
And see, that's what I was going to bring up.
Yes.
Because I wanted you to have the opportunity to address it first. But in the last 3 days, I've had members, which I told you this on the phone, I have had members that said, hey, remember the bracket bash proposal and that Dustin recused himself? Well, Debbie and Rayanna are business partners, and Jody is Debbie's daughter. So why is it that Rayanna does not feel it as an ethical violation and she should recuse herself? I was hoping you would address that because I know when I get out of this meeting, my phone is going to blow up with people asking me to address that. So if you would, could you please address it?
Wait, you're saying that I'm unethical because I have...
No, I'm not saying you're unethical.
No, but the question is because Debbie and I have the same broker for Tejas Properties. And because Jody happens to be a 42-year-old, 43-year-old adult child that does not live with her mother.
Right.
And we all have to sign the code of ethics and everything because we're related or because my job, we share the same broker.
Well,
do you understand that a real estate agent we're our own entity. We have to have a broker unless we are a broker. So Melissa Davis, there's a lot of people that work for Tejas Properties. But so you're saying that you think that we won't be able to make decisions because of who we're related to and who we work with.
Okay,
we can't separate this.
Let's clarify first.
Okay.
I'm not saying because I didn't think of it. It was members that brought it to my attention.
Well, okay.
So I'm just saying I would like for you to address that, which you can do. And the other thing is that with the ice machine proposal that we've tabled several times, even though it's $1 contract to rig that ice machine, I would have to recuse myself.
It's your
because-
mother's contract.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, is it's $1, but it's still a conflict of interest. So that's what I've been asked over the past 3 days is, why does Rayanna not feel like she should recuse herself? Because they still work together. If you can't show a property, you have somebody else. And I'm not saying.
So
I
you're
agree
saying
with-
people on the board have to be retired and not be able to make a living
No,
outside the board?
That's not what it's saying.
I'm not.
I'm just asking the membership.
And Brianna, I know that you feel kind of like you're under attack, and I don't mean to make you feel that way. I just am saying that I would like for you to address it, not for me, because
No, that's-
but to the membership, because when I get out of here, my phone's gonna blow up.
No, and that's fine, but I still don't think it's fair that you guys are putting Jody, because of who her mother is. I mean, y'all didn't have a problem hiring her at that time, and Debbie was the president of the board, so she still had access to everything she needed to, but you guys were fine then. Again,
I wasn't on the board
we
at that
have to,
point.
we sign an oath, and we have to follow our declarating things. You can't, you have to have facts. You can't just do these assumptions. However, what I'm saying about the petition, and since it all kind of go about removing, she was part of the 4 teams that actually to remove Debbie, and this seems to be the hang-up between Debbie and Jody's the biggest problem. So I'm just asking if that's a conflict of interest. I don't see how my real estate and the whole going around the circle because I'm Jody and Debbie has anything to do with the 3 candidates that put their names
Is
in
it
here.
okay if I just butt in right here?
Well,
Sure.
It's just the perception, but even if you and Sandy both recused yourself, that leaves Dustin
still
and I,
tied.
who are still tied.
Again, I'm
so
not
it
understanding why
doesn't
I need to
matter.
recuse myself.
No,
I mean,
I-
how is this relevant?
Wait a minute. First of all, he didn't say you should. He just said,
Can you address
he,
it?
he just said, he didn't say you should. He just said he has heard this from members. Now I will answer for myself. I was not appointed to this position by the petition committee. I was appointed to this position thanks to Rihanna because of my past experience on the board, okay? We already lost our treasurer, which is what this is all about, because he agreed to be treasurer, and for 2 things. He determined that it was going to take more work than he was wanted to spend to get into the financials after coming in cold to it, and it was taking more time. He also expressed that it was his hope that he would have been able to be appointed to the board to work with the original board, the board that was removed. And that's his preference. And his wife was also on that list, and we would not have probably appointed her either if because she was related to a board member that just quit. Somebody that was appointed for one of the purposes was to support the old board. I have no conflicts. Rihanna chose my name because I was already on the board for 5 years and would have some knowledge of what we needed to do, where to go and find it, and so forth. So otherwise you would have had 4 people with absolutely no experience if you hadn't taken Rihanna. Now, I don't have a problem with Rihanna. I don't think that there's enough of a conflict of interest there to be a problem with Rihanna. And I will be honest with you, Rihanna, the comments that I heard came from members seeing you, not you and Jody discussing things, but you and Jody and Debbie discussing things together. And so that's where members got, I think, some of the impression.
I would kind of like to know the time and date of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I was told. Okay, now, so, anyway.
Again, we have an oath, regardless of, you shouldn't have to break up with your friends because you step up on the board.
No,
we have to take this seriously, and
Like I said, I wasn't accusing you, I just wanted you to address it for those people, because, Brianna, you and I have a good relationship, I like you, but I just don't want to not have an answer, so I was giving you the opportunity to do it. Like I said, I prefaced it with, I don't want to throw you under the bus, because I really don't want to, but I
this
just
is
don't.
why I hate social media.
But I just don't want to have to.
I don't want to know.
But I just don't want to have to say, I don't know, you'd have to ask Brianna later. I would prefer that they hear it from you.
Right, I also don't see any
I don't see
significant conflict here.
me neither.
No more certainly than 2 petition committee members, you know, it is what it is. I'll say I have no bad feelings about the petition or the results of it. That is the membership's prerogative. There certainly were strong feelings about that, and I get it, I understand it. I don't disagree with a great many of them. It was behavior after the results were
Yes.
pretty much known to everybody the way it was gonna go down. That just, the ball couldn't be dropped. I have no personal animosity against Linda O'Brien. Every dealing I've had with her has been just fine. There were statements made that are distressing and show lack of knowledge, or, for want of a better term, poor judgment. Maybe feelings got way too heated, you know, a lot hotter than they should have been once the writing was on the wall. We have been hashing this out for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and I'm fine with this discussion. I mean, as long as y'all have time, because I really feel strongly that it's our job to dig a compromise out of here somewhere and not leave here until we make a selection, because that's our job. Compromise is part of democratic government. That's the way things get done, and it would be a poor showing on us to the membership if we were not able to do it.
No,
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
do. No, if you don't. No, I agree. I think we have a responsibility, and I'm open to changing my vote. Like I said, I'm the only one here that really knows all three people, and I actually think any of those three people would be a successful director. I just wanted to make a point about when she was talking about the truck and trailer wrapped. Yes, we already had those vehicles, but the wrapping of that truck and trailer turned out to be some of the very best marketing we've ever had. Every time that truck went somewhere, we drew attention. Monique and I took it to San Antonio one day to go to TCEQ and the TAAVC to get stuff done, and we attracted so much attention that Monique was giving out business cards left and right. And that's actually a very creative way to do things. But I'm certainly willing to adapt my vote. It's probably wouldn't be that hard, because I think all three are qualified. I think it's a difficult decision.
I do likewise. I'm not dug my heels in opposed to working with Linda O'Brien. I just want to make absolutely certain that all four of us have presented every argument for and against somebody that we possibly can before we make this decision, because somebody is going to end up making a vote that
Right.
they're not going to be wholly comfortable with.
Like I said, with Linda at this point, this was just barely 2 months ago. So I really, really strongly hope that she does put her name back in the hat in September. What I fear, especially when you guys look at what we've already spent in legal fees, we're like over 50% above budget. I don't want to make it another environment. So I don't necessarily want to reward bad behavior, and that meeting was completely bad behavior. Again, I'm not saying that I can't work with her. I haven't worked with her. But in this particular case, being so close to this just happening, I don't feel like time, and like I said, I believe everyone deserves forgiveness and to kind of move on, but sometimes there's a little bit of a consequence until you get to where you need to get to. So again, Linda, I do encourage you to please put your name back in there, but at this particular time, if for some reason my vote can't be for you at this moment, but theirs may change, and like I said, I will work with whoever my board members are, but at this time, I can't do it
Yeah.
yet.
My fear is not
Her, exactly.
that. It's not that. It is the performance there gives a strong indication to me that the possibility exists that if discussions and decisions are made on the board that are disagreed with, we're gonna start another round of outside the board. Let's go use our big personality to gather
And get rid of us.
the mob and, you know.
We keep going back to the bad behavior of February 1st, but once again, is the outsider's perspective. When you have the previous board getting the constable, so then the other side gets together the night before and plans this happening, this event to overthrow by asking the sheriff to come in, who trumps the constable, so that when the constable starts to remove an elderly member, then Linda comes to that member's defense. The bad behavior was on both sides. And at some point, we have got to let that go. Unfortunately, as I said in my email to the rest of the board, the past colors the future and the present. So we can't get it completely laid to rest until we let it affect what's going on now. And I really think that given everything that's happened, the way that you correct the perceived wrong of Linda not being placed on the board with Mr. Hope's resignation is to put her there now. However, I do not feel, like was mentioned from the previous board and the petition committee, that the bylaws are in conflict, because it says immediately following an election. And immediately is the governing term there, the significant term. If it were a day after the election, but 4 or 5 weeks down the road, the board was within their right to choose who they want. But the board, in my opinion, had an ethical responsibility to look at the membership they represent. And that's why I'm saying, if Linda is appointed to the board by us for the next 2 years, you all are off in a year, I will have to work with her for the 2 years. I cannot say in honesty that that does not scare me to death at times, because I am afraid of the assertive personality, but I have to then become more assertive myself. But I do believe that is what the membership wants, to right the wrong that was taken out with the appointment of Mr. Kirby, whom I've talked to and really like, but that he shouldn't have been in place there. It should have been the board respecting the wishes of the membership. So, like I said, I'm looking at it from the outsider's point of view. I'm trying to redress the wrong that created this expenditure of money, this waste of time and energy that we could have used to fix the swimming pool, the sidewalks, the roadways, all of those things that we should have been working on. We weren't, because we were worried about this other issue.
Right. My view, the wrong was addressed when the membership booted everybody out of this office. That righted the wrong. That was them expressing their displeasure and removing the government of the fort. Now it's a clean slate. My issue now, my perspective is, I'm not here to redress past grievances. I'm here to protect the interests of the association going forward from right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a level of volatility there that makes me really uncomfortable. I mean, I hate to keep saying it, I don't dislike her or have anything personally against her, but I have to look out for the association as a whole. That's my job here. And it's disconcerting, the idea that if that volatility were to start rearing its head in conducting association business, it could have serious ramifications going forward for the association as a whole. I would certainly hope that that would not be the case. But that would be my fear, always right back here, that and she's really not liking this argument or this discussion. Or, she voted against this 3 times before we finally passed it over objections. Not that that's going to be the routine course of business, but in that eventuality, because compromise is the nature of our business, what then?
Okay, I'm rethinking some things here. Dustin brought up a couple of points that I had not really addressed in my own heart, my own mind. We do owe something to the members, but I've heard very loud comments made against both Miss Stevens and Ms. O'Brien. And all of them are valid. That's why this is such a difficult decision. I do agree that both are volatile personalities. And I have no doubt that Rick, if confronted by Jody by the constant, I was the director of operations for 2 years, you need to listen to me, I have no doubt that he can handle that quite nicely. And he's nodding yes. But if we're talking about personalities who are more in line with our current board, and everybody here is sane, well, for now, has control over their emotions, wants to work for the association, and cares about our members, the personality that would most be suitable for this board is actually Bill Herman. And I think members have not given him enough credit for how much he added. I have a comment here from a member who will remain unnamed that they didn't like Bill Herman because he was voted off 2 cycles ago. Actually, it was only 1 cycle ago. Part of the previous board's problems that helped put us where we are now. Well, I was on that previous board, and I take offense to that because we tried really, really hard to get things in line.
Do you want to go ahead and read that?
And no, I didn't say who it was, I just read 1 sentence.
But I know, but are we doing the vote? I mean, isn't this the time that we've allowed people to, if they have a discussion?
When we're
Is that
done.
the only thing we've received?
No, I received one, but he's no longer, I received another one, but he's no longer a member.
Okay.
From Dan Sullivan. So, it's, since we're having such a, I'm going to just, I guess I'm throwing a wrench in the works. I understand what everybody is saying about Linda. And after having been on the committee with Linda, I did see that attitude, even on our committee, about her unwillingness to believe what the attorney was saying. Even when reading the law right out of the book, still the unwillingness to accept it. And I had forgotten the comment she made while I was trying to calm people down, that we did everything the wrong way, even after our attorneys did agree that it was done according to state law. We may not have liked it, but that's the way it was. I still have problems with members telling me they are concerned about the close relationship between Jody and her mother. To me, that is the only reason, because Jody is perfectly capable of handling the job as director. So I guess I'm going to really throw a wrench in the work, and I think that Bill Herman probably has the personality, the wherewithal, the experience, the integrity, and the loyalty to the association to fill a position. And it doesn't help the vote. I understand that. But to be honest with you, I think we've taken this as far as we can go. So unless we delay it further and change the way we're going to do it.
Did you change your vote from Linda to Herman?
I did.
Okay. Well, then we might have a change.
Okay.
I will say that I could work with any of these people, you know, as long as people are willing to compromise, governments continue to function, and that is our function. Having said that, the vast